There's no such thing as an anti-war film. This, and many other phrasings of this quote, are attributed to the director Francois Truffaut. What he's saying is that every film depicting war somehow ends up showing it as exciting, exhilarating, fun. The very medium of movies is unsuited to portraying war in a negative light. Shrinking war onto a movie screen turns it into an adventure, the characters into heroes, the violence into a spectacle. Somehow, war always ends up glorified. I don't know if this holds true for every film, but I think it's true for the vast majority of them, and for that matter, the vast majority of war media in general. There are the obvious examples. Top Gun is pretty blatantly a military recruitment device. The pilots are endlessly cool, the jet's ridiculously powerful, the way they shoot the fight scenes almost erotic. There's an obsession with war in this film, an obsession with the fighting, an obsession with being a hero. It's less obvious in other films. Saving Private Ryan is routinely cited as one of the best war films of all time. And it's horrific. The death and destruction, the overwhelming doom, the message that war is hell. But at the same time, it's also arguing that war is valid. It's a legitimization of the idea that the United States is the last great savior of humanity. No matter how much people suffer, no matter how terrible war looks on screen, the characters become heroes, or at the very least, people worth writing stories about. And everyone wants to be remembered. Video games are perhaps even more at fault in this area. Multiple games have been created specifically as military recruitment devices, America's Army and Full Spectrum Warrior to name a few. But far more games, in fact perhaps the majority of games, are glorifying violence, valorizing war. Call of Duty is one of the most successful video game franchises of all time, and what do you do in Call of Duty? You wield a big, powerful gun. You shoot at terrorists in unnamed Arab countries. You are a boots-on-the-ground, mega-powerful super soldier, the hero of the story. The fantasy here is being in a war. Other games like Halo or Doom abstract the war from our own world, setting you against aliens or demons, but it's the same principle. Wouldn't it be cool if you had a big-ass gun? Even games without blatantly visible militarism can fall into this trap, depending on how the player interacts with the world. Look at me in Zelda, calling in airstrikes on my enemies, boldly riding into battle to save the kingdom. There's a power fantasy in so many games, of violence, of fighting. Don't you want to be a hero too? And yet, despite that, despite all these movies and games and everything else that's not anti-war, I do believe anti-war movies exist. And I think one of the best examples is Studio Ghibli's Fighter Plane movie. Now, it would be very easy to point at any number of Studio Ghibli films and call them anti-war. Miyazaki has a long history of pacifist themes in his work, and when compared to these other films, this movie seems almost in love with war. There are daredevil pilots and exhilarating dogfights, detailed descriptions of guns. But I think none of Miyazaki's other works, not Nausicaa, not Princess Mononoke, not Howl's Moving Castle, is capturing the exact anti-war sentiment that Porco Rosso does. Let's start at the beginning. 13.5 billion years ago, the universe was created. Then some other unimportant stuff happened, and eventually a bit over 30 years ago, Studio Ghibli released the film Porco Rosso. Porco Rosso is a movie about a pig that flies. It takes place in 1930s Italy, set between the two world wars, in an age when seaplanes ruled the waves. Porco, the pig, is one of these seaplane pilots, skimming his bright red fighter plane over the sea and valiantly taking down all sorts of bad guys. There is certainly a level of glorification happening here. Porco is desperately cool, exactly the sort of lone wolf ace we've been taught to love. He is effortlessly the best pilot in the skies, literally flying circles around everyone else. I mean, he wears sunglasses the entire movie. Dude, it's the middle of the night! He is the hero that we want to be. There's a love of the airplanes too. Their engines and guns and machinery, the sweep of their wing, the way they dance around each other in a dogfight. Their glinting metal is almost fetishized, their forms admired and explored, their movement in the air intimately captured by the screen. The way I'm describing it, this movie sounds a hell of a lot like Top Gun. And, just like Maverick, Porco has a rival, an upstart American pilot named Curtis, come to the Adriatic to prove his worth. Him and Porco are quickly set against each other, Curtis the only pilot in the skies even close to Porco's abilities. The climax of the film is a dogfight between the two of them, and every pilot in the Adriatic turns up to watch. It is beautiful, breathtaking, exhilarating. The planes loop and spin and dance. The crowd gasps in astonishment. What I would give to fly like that! And then their guns jam, and they throw stuff at each other like toddlers. You jerk, you pig, missed me, shut up. They land and start boxing, but there is no grace in the fight anymore. It's laughable. They waddle around and spit insults and fall in the water. The crowd's still into it, but don't they see what they're cheering? The fight is dumb, childish. It continues for no reason. Curtis and Porco look like clowns instead of fighter pilots. The Emperor has no clothes. The fight makes fools of us all. La guerre n'est pas une aventure. La guerre est une maladie. War is not an adventure, war is a sickness. Those were the words of Antoine de Saint-Exupéry, best known as the author of The Little Prince. He was also a pilot. He wrote extensively about his adventures with the airlines in France, with the mail services in Africa and South America, and he wrote about being a reconnaissance pilot during World War II. He didn't like war very much. France was losing to the Axis powers when Saint-Exupéry was flying. He was doing reconnaissance in his own country, soaring over burned villages, roads choked with refugees, the dead and the dying. Defeat is a thing of weariness, of incoherence, of boredom, and above all, of futility. There is no dignity in sacrifice if it is mere parody or suicide. We are surrounded by the conflagration. We have no camp on which to fall back. We know no rescuers on whom we can pin our hope. And as for those for whom we fight, for whom we say we are fighting, what are we doing except, apparently, ensuring their murder? The tragedy of this rout is that all its acts are without meaning. To Saint-Exupéry, war is senseless violence, worthless deaths. Because the front cannot protect the refugees, because the soldiers throw their lives away and the villages still get burned down, parce que le coup que vous donnez c'est un enfant qui le reçoit, the punch you throw hits a child instead. For Saint-Exupéry, there is no meaning in war. But he does find meaning in the hum of an engine, the sweep of a wing, the sun above the clouds. Saint-Exupéry, like Miyazaki, is in love with airplanes, in love with flight and the freedom it brings. He describes contact with an airplane as a relationship with another living being. The motor has come to fulfill its function, which is to whir as a heart beats, and we give no thought to the beating of our heart. It is not with metal that the pilot is in contact. Contrary to the vulgar illusion, it is thanks to the metal, and by virtue of it, that the pilot rediscovers nature. The machine does not isolate man from the great problems of nature, but plunges him more deeply into them. For Saint-Exupéry, the best way to experience the world is from the flight deck. It is from there that he can read the air currents, play in the clouds, watch the cities light up at dusk. The world is both beautiful and terrible, sublime from 1,000 feet up. Porco feels the same way about his plane. He spends much of the movie doting on it, fixing the engine and dialing in the steering and polishing its bright red paint. It's clear he sees his piloting as more than a means to an end. When given a wide open sky, he can't resist showing off, flipping and turning. Flying is where he finds his purpose, his meaning, his life. The movie agrees with him. Porco Rosso itself is a film in love with aircraft. All of the most beautiful shots are of Porco's plane, tiny against a vast background of sky, flying peacefully above the Adriatic. He dives and swoops amongst the clouds. The airplane puts us in contact with nature. Would you laugh if I said I thought this was the prettiest Ghibli movie? I'm biased, of course, but look at the light glinting off the wings. Look at the spray from the touchdown. Look at the curve, the dive, the clouds streaming from the wingtips. Look at where the plane takes us. This other world of sea and sun and sky. The shot's that much prettier with a tiny red aircraft on the horizon. It's breathtaking. But Porco must never forget that his plane is equipped with artillery, that leading the charge at the front of his aircraft are 2 high-caliber guns. The plane is corrupted when it is used for war. It is taken from a thing of beauty, a vessel for adventure, and turned into an indiscriminate killing machine. L'avion qui écrase les vies à l'arrière des troupes a changé la guerre. The plane, destroying villages behind the troops, has changed war. It is painful to see something so beautiful become something so terrible. There is a constant tension in Saint-Exupéry's writing and in Porco Rosso, a tension between airplane and bomb, fight and flight, love and war. The same things that once set us free can become our prisons. The other pilots continually bait Porco into fights, forcing him time and again to fly into battle. Porco is no hotshot fighter pilot, he's not seeking glory, but he ends up having to fight nonetheless. And, once again, his opponents are laughable. The first job we see him take is saving a group of schoolgirls from a pirate gang. But the pirates are struggling enough with the kids. They demand to see the flight deck and look out of the gun sights. They make a mess of the pirates' gear, they're laughing and unafraid. Their presence reduces the pirates to incompetent babysitters, the plane to a playground, the artillery and weaponry to toys. This is not a serious threat. When Porco finds them, he makes quick work of their plane. He doesn't want to prolong this, doesn't try to show off. The music is not epic dogfighting music. It's plodding and goofy, music for hijinks rather than a battle. The fight is not impressive. There's no glory to be won here, just a bunch of people to laugh at. The fights with Curtis are even more embarrassing. After the pirates band together and challenge Porco one-on-one, Porco decides to go on vacation. The pirates are not worth his time. There are several shots of his journey, the clouds, the light, the play of the sea. The music here is dramatic, soaring. When Porco lowers the plane into the clouds, we get a sense of perhaps the movie's first true adversary, the weather itself. The squall has ceased to be a cause of my complaint. The magic of the craft has opened for me a world in which I shall confront, within 2 hours, the black dragons and the crowned crests of a coma of blue lightnings. And when night has fallen, I, delivered, shall read my course in the stars. And then Curtis appears and the music stops and they start yelling at each other. Porco literally dismisses him, saying, "Not now." And when Curtis threatens to tell everyone he ran, Porco leaves anyway. "Catch you later, loser." Unluckily, Porco's engine gives out. Curtis thinks he hit him. "Got you, nuh-uh." Again, they are reduced to squabbling school children. Porco dives and hides, and Curtis is sure that he's killed him, sure that all that fame is now his. Who cares? What happened to the breathtaking flight, to the soaring music, to the gathering storm? Again, Porco sees battle as something to be avoided, something not worth his time. The world is so beautiful outside of these fights, so ridiculous within them. What the hell are we doing? Maybe the difference in Porco and Curtis's perspectives can be explained by their backstories. Curtis is a racing pilot, sure that he's the fastest flyer, the best in the skies. He's talented but naive, hard-headed and quick to anger, boastful and overconfident, desperate to prove himself. Porco, on the other hand, has been to war. Before Porco was a pig, yes, there was a before, he was a fighter pilot in World War I. He doesn't like to speak of those days. He never brags about his wins or talks about the daring battles he was a part of. Except once. Late at night, another character asks Porco to tell her a story. He sighs, looks at the stars, then begins to recount a dogfight. The music is painful, mourning. The planes arc around each other almost in slow motion, their fates sealed the minute they join the fray. Planes were dropping like flies, ours and theirs. Then, just as Porco thinks he's about to die, everything goes white. He's flown into a cloud, lit by a strange light. The plane flies itself, skimming the surface of the endless cloud sea, and on either side of him, Porco sees the other pilots, friends and enemies, all rising up into the sky. I thought of our respect for the dead. I thought of the white sanatorium where the light of a man's life goes quietly out in the presence of those who love him, and who garner as if it were an inestimable treasure his last words, his ultimate smile. How right they are, seeing that this same whole is never again to take shape in the world. Never again will be heard exactly that note of laughter, that intonation of voice, that quality of repartee. Each individual is a miracle. No wonder we go on speaking of the dead for 20 years. Porco yells at the other pilots to stop, says he'll go instead. But up they fly. One by one, our comrades slip away. They join the endless contrail, the night flight with its 100,000 stars. And then, inexplicably, Porco is a pig. Why? There's no other magic in this world, nothing else supernatural. There is just a man turned into a pig, completely unexplained. I think it's because he recognizes what he is. He's been there, been in the thick of bloody battle, fought for his life, fought for his country, and what did it get him? His friends are dead. Maybe Porco looked up that day and realized the ridiculousness of his actions, the absurdity of it all. War is not an adventure, war is a sickness. And these young pilots that laugh and boast, that wave their guns in the air and thirst for battle, do not realize how stupid they look. Porco is a pig because he knows he should be laughed at. Everyone else just denies it. In the time period where Porco Rosso is set, Italy is falling, slowly but surely, under fascist rule. Maybe you can relate. At every turn, however, Porco refuses to join the fascist cause, or even to fight at all. He flees from Curtis, he laughs at the pirates, he buys low-caliber ammo because we're not fighting a war out there, kid. When he first arrives in Italy, there's a parade happening. Soldiers and tanks, crowds of people cheering for war, the nationalism is on full display. Porco ignores it, walks past, laughs in the face of the teller who asks him to buy a war bond. Do I look like a person? He's uninterested in the spectacle of war. He's seen its dangers. He knows this celebration is a lie. Later in the film, Porco's old friend asks him to rejoin the Italian Air Force. He says all Porco's crimes will be forgiven, that he'll be able to fly until the end of his days. Porco just laughs. Better a pig than a fascist, he says. At least he recognizes his ugliness. At least he refuses to hide it. Better a pig than a fascist. At least pigs are fucking honest. In the climactic fight, Curtis tears the mask off, yells at Porco to fight like a pig. That's all he ever wanted. Senseless, disgusting violence, a spectacle for the crowd, a tragedy for everyone else. Wherever you fly, you're still a pig, threatens Porco's friend, refusing to look in the mirror himself. And Porco laughs it all off, because he knows the truth, that he looks like a pig, but they are the pigs, reveling in the violence. They are the ones that will not acknowledge their evil, that hide behind their uniforms and flags, that call Porco a pig because it is easier than confronting themselves. The fascists are the real pigs. They just refuse to see it. Porco is dangerous not because he is an ace pilot, but because he makes the fascists look like fools. By simply existing, he is tearing off the mask, showing the world the absurdity of it all. The fascists are scared of him because he gives everyone permission to laugh. He's a flying pig. Is this your hero? Shuffling around in the water, trading half-hearted punches in a fight that doesn't matter beyond the betting pool. Is this your hero? Nobody wins in Porco Rosso. Nobody comes out looking cool. Porco is ridiculous. Curtis is stupid. The fascists are buffoons. There is nothing worth glorifying here. Miyazaki has made an anti-war film that says not war is devastating or war is hell, but rather war is absurd. Absurd in every sense of the word. Irrational, meaningless, laughable. There's a real danger in valorizing violence, in making it look cool to shoot a gun. I mentioned some other films and games earlier, Top Gun, Call of Duty, Halo. What you might not know is that their glorification of violence rarely stays confined to the screen. The link between media like these and real military recruitment is proven and strong. There's an urban myth that the original 1986 Top Gun movie led to a 500% increase in naval recruiting. The truth is closer to 8%. But that's still a significant increase, and it's telling that the 500% myth survives today. Clearly, we recognize the power of glorified violence. We see why somebody would watch this movie and decide to go to war. In the modern day, the US military has shifted its focus to video games. Now, I'm not going to claim that video games cause violence. That's been proven false by countless studies over the years. However, video games can still normalize and glorify violence, and the military recognizes this. According to internal documents obtained by Vice's motherboard, the military considered gaming, more specifically Call of Duty, as a useful branding and recruiting tool. It wouldn't be a stretch to say that Call of Duty is modern-day military propaganda, the equivalent of Red Scare posters from the 50s. It is teaching players to enjoy the action of firing a gun, to hate an unnamed other, to kill because someone ordered you to. As one columnist puts it, Call of Duty is a symptom of a larger disease. propaganda that normalizes the notion that national security comes from our ability to be violent abroad. No wonder the military thinks it's a useful recruiting device. Today, the US Navy dedicates about 3 to 5% of its marketing budget, or around $4.3 million of taxpayer money, to using video games to recruit new generations of soldiers. They live stream on platforms like YouTube, Twitch, Instagram, and Discord, starting their recruitment early, often with kids younger than 13. The goal is to use the language of video games to make the military seem cool. One college student whose algorithm started pushing her toward military recruitment live streams stated, even if they're not directly providing a link to join the army, they are trying to appeal to the cool factor of, ooh, we do mid-air refueling, and we jump out of planes and shoot guns. Maybe nowhere is this rhetoric so present than with ICE recruitment. With United States Immigration and Customs Enforcement planning on hiring over 10,000 new thugs, more than tripling the current workforce in an effort to beat up as many innocent people as possible, they've resorted to some interesting advertisements. After God, I can't believe I have to talk about this shit. The US government is so fucked. After a back and forth between the GameStop Twitter account and the official White House Twitter account, in which they shared multiple AI-generated images of Donald Trump dressed in the Halo armor, ICE decided to post this. It's a screenshot from a Halo game, an armored character wielding an enormous gun from the back of some military vehicle. Destroy the Flood, it says, above a link to join ICE. The Flood are the enemy from the Halo games, parasitic alien zombies that infect and destroy everything they touch. This is what the US government is comparing real, living people to. This is the type of violence they are encouraging. And we see its consequences every single day. The draw of this ICE ad, and all the other ads like it, is that you will be fantastically, desperately cool. That you will be the hero riding in to save your country, that you will get to live out all those fantasies you've played through time and again in each new first-person shooter that releases. You will get the armor and the weapons and the fame and the glory. But we cannot forget that pigs with guns must be laughed at. A powerful tactic against this sort of rhetoric is to laugh in the face of these people, to make them feel ridiculous, to make them feel like losers. And I don't think I've ever seen a crowd of bigger losers than the ones that work for ICE. They parade around in their camo gear with their assault rifles and tear gas grenades, their masks pulled up to their eyes. What are they doing? This is a city. The camo is actively unhelpful. They're arresting children. Why do they need a meter-long gun? Hell, they're arresting children. Are these your heroes? A bunch of washed-up guys who couldn't cut it anywhere else? Who are failing open-book take-home exams and basic fitness tests such as doing 15 push-ups? Look, I can't do 15 push-ups, but you don't see me donning military combat gear about it. These people are evil and fucking lame. Pigs with guns deserve to be laughed at. They should not get to enjoy themselves. They should not get to live out their power fantasy. Every ICE agent should live their days feeling sick to their stomach about the atrocities they're committing. They should not get to feel cool. Laughter is powerful against violence. It deflates the oppressors, puts them in a lose-lose situation, makes them feel uncool. In their book Pranksters vs. Autocrats, academics Sergia Popovic and Sophie McLennan explain the importance of laughtivism, or using humor to fight back. Laughtivism relies on putting the oppressors in dilemmas, lose-lose situations where either they're forced to look powerless or look ridiculous. For example, clowns have been surprisingly effective against neo-Nazis in countries from Germany to Finland to the US. The alt-right, and for that matter, ICE, the National Guard, and other police forces, have trained extensively on how to react to violent protests. But what do you do against a clown? Here are these big, macho, alt-right white supremacists, and here are a bunch of people laughing at them. As Popovig and McLennan say, this puts white supremacists in a dilemma. Their own use of violence will seem unwarranted, yet their machismo image is tainted by the comedic performance. Responding to clowns with violence is absurd. Is your movement that fragile that it's threatened by people having fun in silly wigs? But maybe letting the clowns laugh at you is worse, because once one person is laughing, everyone starts. And quickly your group is in the middle of every high schooler's worst nightmare, a circle of people pointing and laughing at you. The clowns make the Nazis look like idiots, and in doing so, make anyone wanting to join them seem stupid too. Look at how absurd these neo-Nazis are, how ridiculous. What a bunch of idiots. The fascists lose either way. Laughtivism works because it points out the absurdity of the fascists. It allows people to laugh at them. It reverses the glorification of violence. It makes being a fascist seem lame. And these tactics are being used today. A few weeks ago, Trump was planning on sending the National Guard to Portland, claiming the city was an active war zone and that people there were living in hell. In response, Portlandians? People who live in Portland pulled out their inflatable frog costumes. They organized a naked bike ride. Rows of inflatable T-Rexes held signs saying that ICE peaked in high school. Looking through photos from the protests, we can portray these thugs like they want to be seen. Kitted out in military gear, striding through smoke grenades, the picture of macho violence. Or we can zoom out and see those snipers on the roof are guarding against people in animal onesies. Terrifying threat to national security. What are you gonna do? Yell at the guy dressed as a cartoon frog? Flashbang the naked bike riders? Are you planning on arresting the Unipiper? I'm sorry, this guy fucking rocks. This image has so much swag. As one protester says, it's really hard to keep on claiming that this is civil unrest here when you see people out in frog costumes. The protesters, by laughing at the ICE agents, have flipped the narrative on its head. They've taken the power back, given everyone in Portland permission to laugh along with them, to see just how ridiculous these wannabe cops truly are, how fake their glorious battle is. As Saint-Exupéry says, everybody struggles as hard as he can to make war look like war. And nobody admits, meanwhile, that this war looks like nothing at all. There is no glory to be won arresting clowns. The protesters in Portland are exposing the absurdity of this fight. They make the fascists look like fools. Which, finally, brings us back to Porco Rosso. This movie is doing the same thing as the inflatable frog costumes. It is rejecting the glorification of violence and power in favor of laughing at it. It is laughing at Top Gun and Call of Duty, laughing at all the media valorizing war, laughing at the idea that this is anything worthwhile, that it's anything more than smoke and mirrors and meaningless violence. When you watch any other war film and leave a little entranced by the idea of being a hero, Porco Rosso is laughing at you. In Porco Rosso, there are no heroes. Everyone is just stumbling around, slugging each other, bloodying the same seawater, wasting their time in the same senseless scuffles. Is this your hero? No. I don't want to be anything like him. Everyone is laughing at him. What a fool. This is how Porco Rosso manages to be an anti-war film. Not by saying that war is hell, but that war is stupid, pointless, absurd. This movie says that there is no meaning to be found in war. No heroes, no quests, no life-changing close calls, no glory and valor to be won. If you want to go to war, asks this film, why? There is nothing there for you. And someday, someone will notice. Someone will point out that there is nothing there, and all your armor and weapons will not be able to conceal the absurdity of your actions. They will laugh, and you will be powerless to stop them. So where do we turn? Where is the glory without the fight? Porco finds it in the sky. My favorite line in this movie isn't "better a pig than a fascist," no matter how hard that line goes, but rather a line that is sometimes translated as "a pig's gotta fly," or more compellingly, as "a pig that doesn't fly is just a pig." Porco knows what he's done, he knows what he is, but he's trying to do something different. He's trying to do something beautiful. The way he flies is almost an art form, swooping and diving and arcing over the Adriatic for the simple joy of it. A pig who doesn't fly is just a pig. This peaceful flight means so much more to Porco than a dogfight ever could. Despite being a pig, Porco has found his purpose in peace. There is no one to laugh at him when it's just him and the sky. He has found a way to prove himself outside of violence. The clouds become his challengers, the plain his dearest comrade, the Adriatic his endless canvas upon which to paint his aerobatic flight. There is no weakness in Porco's peace. As Saint-Exupéry says, "What dishonor is there in possessing a land that brings forth more wheat than machines? What dishonor is there in flying instead of fighting, peace instead of war? This is what we should be glorifying." There is danger in these airplanes, says Porco Rosso. They can be corrupted, their guns glorified, their violence valorized, but there is beauty to be found in them. There is meaning to be had. There is a life outside of war, and it is spectacular. Air and water, and not machinery, are the concern of the hydroplane pilot about to take off. The motors are running free and the plane is already plowing the surface of the sea. Under the dizzying whirl of the scythe-like propellers, clusters of silvery water bloom and drown the flotation gear. The element smacks the sides of the hull with a sound like a gong, and the pilot can sense this tumult in the quivering of his body. He feels the ship charging itself with power. As from second to second it picks up speed, he feels the development in these 15 tons of matter, of a maturity that is about to make flight possible. He closes his hands over the controls, and little by little in his bare palms, he receives the gift of this power. And when his power is ripe, then, in a gesture gentler than the culling of a flower, the pilot severs the ship from the water and establishes it in the air. A pig that doesn't fly is just a pig.